5.
Curry hits a three.
4.
Houston with a drive. Deep left field.
3.
Patrick hit by Watt. Sack number 10.
2.
Messi with a record-breaking goal.
1.
Welcome to BSS Sports. Now, here are your hosts, Steve and Trevor.
Good afternoon. Happy Halloween. It's another episode of BSS Sports. My name is Steven Schill with the ever-lovely Trevor Struthers. Trevor, can you please tell me what you were dressed up as today?
I just so happen to be dressed as a football coach.
All right, Coach. Well, what's the game plan? What do you want to kick off the show with today?
You know what? I know I'm dressed as a football coach, and we had an interesting day of NFL football yesterday, but, I think the World Series is where it's at right now.
All right, the World Series. We'll kick off with that. Chicago Cubs facing elimination, but they were able to hold on, per se, against the Cleveland Indians. And this whole, baseball playoffs in general just seem to be based off pitching. There's not much hitting going on. Every game seems to be, 5 runs max together as an entirety between the two teams per series. What's going on with pitching? Why does it feel like baseball during the season is hitter-based, but now it's all pitching-based?
Well, we see a lot of great pitching performances throughout the regular season, but the reason pitching is so spectacular in the postseason, first off, because pitching thrives, and by this point we're in the World Series, and it's only the best of the best that are left. But also because the staffs are shortened, and the talk going into this World Series was Cleveland maybe trying to get Corey Kluber to start 3 times in the series, which, that's a lot of starts for a guy in a series over about a 9-day span or so, 10-day span to get 3 starts in there. That's difficult. You're obviously going on short rest. But, that's the thing. You lose your number 5 starter. In some cases, you lose your number 4 starter. And for the most part, that's what Cleveland's been using is just a few starters. And then they had, in the ALCS there, they had to use that guy that was making just a second career start. And thank God for them, Trevor Bauer, in that last game, didn't have to come out in the first inning due to the finger. So, that's the kind of stage that we're at. You see the kind of pitching that Chicago has. I totally forgot about Kyle Hendricks. Then he had a great performance against the Dodgers that got them to the World Series. Both these pitching staffs are incredible. And, hey, the Blue Jays, they would have fit right in with their pitching staff with the way they performed all season. The offense, Chicago has a pretty good offense. Cleveland, I would say their offense is a little bit lackluster in comparison. But, I keep talking about the starting staffs. If you want to talk pitching as well, you got to mention the bullpens as well. And Cleveland's has been spectacular. Andrew Miller obviously has been a huge part of that, and the Chicago Cubs and their pickup of Aroldis Chapman has worked out so far, and he had a big outing for them last night to help clinch that victory. So it's not just starters; it's the bullpen too. But it's also, I talk about using your key guys. We've seen Andrew Miller so many times this postseason, it's ridiculous, and that's what you got to do. You got to use your key guys in the bullpen.
I got a question for you, and I'm kind of confused, because when the Blue Jays were in the playoffs, we don't get the Blue Jays feed. It's all the American broadcasts, and you know what, that's fine and dandy, but we're in the World Series, and Buck Martinez is calling the game.
It is kind of funny. That's because he just joined their MLB International broadcast. Because what happens is the World Series, there's 2 different broadcast rates. You have Fox, obviously, and then you have the MLB International feed, which is given out to anybody not in the U.S. And that's the one that Sportsnet, I guess, I don't know if they're allowed to air or they choose to air that, but that's the one that they air. And so, yeah, Buck Martinez wasn't part of that group previously, but he is now. And Matt Vasgersian is the guy he's doing the games with of the MLB Network. He's also pretty fantastic. So I like that combo. That's where I've been watching. And, Buck Martinez, this isn't his first time doing playoff games either. He used to work for TBS as well, before he got the chance here with the MLB International feed.
So, another question for you, Trev, because I just like pressing you with questions. There's reports about Jose Bautista being interested in the Red Sox. Now, initially, you're like, hold on, that's really bad. But when you think about it, you see what happened with David Price, and it hasn't really worked out that well. Do you care if Bautista goes to the Red Sox, or do you think this is going to be a really big deal and make things way harder for the Jays if he joins them?
Well, you talk about caring, and I don't think Bautista cares what Price's first season as a Red Sox went. I don't blame him for being interested in the Red Sox. They were a fantastic team this year. They won the AL East. Fenway's a fantastic park for right-handed hitters to hit in because you have that monster. And I mean, you look at the money David Price got, and that's where Jose Bautista is looking and salivating at. I mean, the money was ridiculous. I don't know if they can he's obviously not going to get the David Price contract coming off the season he just had, but he could get overpaid there. And I mean, that's something that's really hard to turn down. I mean, look what David Price did, right? Took the deal.
So, moving on to hockey, last night for the Ottawa Senators goalie, Craig Anderson, I seen you tweeting about it, and I seen a couple of other people making a big deal, and I was like, wait, what's going on with the Senators? And the other day, it was announced that Craig Anderson's wife had cancer, and so that was the reason why he got his leave of absence. But in the game against Edmonton, and apparently it was breaking, like it was the first game that was a shutout that Craig Anderson got in his return.
Well, that was his first game back. He had a shutout in his game before that as well. Which was like late last week, around like Thursday, I think is when the game was. And then, he took his leave of absence. We didn't know what it was until Saturday afternoon when Pierre Dorion, with permission from the Andersons, made the announcement of what Craig Anderson's wife, Nicole, has, she's been diagnosed with cancer. We don't know really much about it because that's up to the Andersons, and Craig didn't talk to the media last night. He was a bit emotional, which is understandable. But, I mean, he goes out there, and, I mean, Edmonton is a team that I think has scored at least 2 goals in every game. He shuts them out, 37 saves, a fantastic performance. It was a cool moment after the game. He came out for the 3 stars. I believe it was the first star in the arena, and the crowd gave him an ovation. Cam Talbot, the opposing goaltender, it was a 1-0 game, or 2-0 counting the empty netter. Cam Talbot came out. He was the second star, and he stayed there and applauded Craig Anderson as Anderson came out. You could see the emotion through Anderson's mask. It was an emotional moment for everybody, and I think even Senators fans watching, because Senators fans, and we lost Mark Reeds a few years ago, and Brian Murray has cancer, and cancer touches everybody. I mean, this whole hashtag Hockey Fights Cancer, it's a real thing, and the only reason Craig Anderson was playing on Sunday night so soon after finding out about his wife's cancer is because his wife wanted him to return to the team because Andrew Hammond got hurt. So they needed a goaltender. They brought back Craig Anderson, and he was spectacular.
Now, keeping with the topic of hockey, Bauer, the NHL stick maker, as well as some of the different products that NHL players wear, a couple of the players have endorsements, including Ovechkin, Jonathan Taves, and Patrick Kane. Apparently, Bauer is now filing for bankruptcy, so these players are going to be losing their endorsement contracts. Austin Matthews is also in this category, obviously not making as much out of it. But is this bad for the hockey world, seeing possibly Under Armour and Nike and everybody else kind of excel, and we're going to have just these giants without any competition in hockey? And I mean, even in sports as well, because, I mean, if you have one fall, there's bound to be kind of a domino effect.
Yeah, I mean, we see as well, I mean, some company could be on the rise with some sort of new technology, stuff like that. So, but, I mean, I can see why it would be. I mean, but I've grown up around Bauer. I'm sure you did as well. A lot of people have. And Bauer, I mean, I had a lot of Bauer stuff, I think, growing up playing hockey. So, yeah, I mean, I like Bauer. And but, I mean, to me, I mean, I don't look too much at the equipment. Obviously, there's sponsorship deals once you get to the NHL. But, I mean, guys like that will definitely find new sponsors. Anybody in the NHL will probably find a new sponsor and sport their gear. And it does make competition interesting, I guess, in that sense, because you will have a bunch of stars closer on under one brand instead of numerous brands. But other than that, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't affect the fans that much. It just really only affects the players, and they'll find their way. Now,
looking at the Western Conference of the NHL, specifically in the Pacific Division, the last 3 teams in that division are Anaheim, Los Angeles, and Arizona. What 2 names don't belong?
The first 2.
Right, so why is it? I know it's early in the season, but what's going on with Anaheim and Los Angeles? Because they are 2 of the top teams in the NHL for the past couple of years, and right now, they're pretty close to the Arizona Coyotes, who's not been good for a little little bit of time.
Well, I mean, you look at the standings, and Edmonton's pretty high, right? So, I mean, like...
Edmonton's first. Edmonton is first. What's going on, baby? Edmonton is first.
Hey, I mean, we were all talking, I believe it was just last year, about the great start Montreal had. And, I mean, they're off to a pretty good start again this year. And, I mean, teams cool off. I expect Edmonton to take a step back. Maybe they'll be a playoff team, but they'll take a step back. And teams like that, I haven't watched many games because, I mean, sleep's a thing here on the East Coast that we need. But definitely they're going to have the opportunity to try to turn things around, both those teams, because both those teams have goaltending. That's where it starts. And ultimately it works out, and they got both great lineups.
It's weird, though, because for Edmonton, it was always, this talk about, hey, we're not doing good on defense, so they pick up Anders Larson, if I'm right, or Anderson Larson, from the New Jersey Devils, and they've only given up 19 goals. And looking across throughout the entire league, that's basically top 5 in the goals against. And even for their goals for, they've scored 29 goals. That's pretty good. They're off to an insane start, and their defense is leading the way. Do you think that trade had that big of an effect? Because when we talked about it, it was like, no, that's wrong. Like, Taylor Hall for a defenseman? Like, hold up, what's going on? But it seems to be paying off. Like, sure, Taylor Hall is, in like top 10 in the league with goals scored. But with that being said, Edmonton is 7-2 and leading the Pacific Division.
Yeah, well, I mean, just as a decor in general, a guy like Darnell Nurse is a year older. Their forwards up front, I mean, maybe they've just bought into a system, which is something that you could argue they didn't really have before this. Cam Talbot seems to be playing well. So, I mean, really, they're not really ever going to be defense-generated with the sort of offense that they have, and they still have. Obviously, Connor McDavid leads the way, and, I mean, guys like Eberle, Nugent Hopkins, I mean, they just have a great offense, and they're going to be able to put the puck in the net, apart from last night when Craig Anderson went on that spectacular performance. They'll find the back of the net. The job is just for the defense and the goaltender to keep the goals against, like, no more than 2 per game, and they could very well be a playoff team.
The thing that I love about Toronto right now is the fact that Toronto FC is doing well in the playoffs. Sure, they had to spend a whole bunch of money on Sebastian Giovinco. Sure, they've decided to, upgrade their stadium and spend thousands and even millions of dollars to upgrade it, but we're actually seeing progress with soccer in North America. Now, with that being said, it's still like a tough way to go. If they win it, then everybody's going to be, let's all go to Toronto, and then the prices are going to get skyrocketed, da-da-da-da-da. So it's kind of a win-lose situation. But thinking positively, in the first round of the playoffs, they were able to knock off the Philadelphia Union 3-1, and in the first leg of the MLS Conference semifinals, they took on New York City FC, which is a pretty new team to the league, but for some reason, they've been able to make the playoffs and do really good and be one of the top 5 teams in the league for, this season and last, even though Toronto's been in the league for like 7 years, and we're finally there. But New York is in it, but we won the first game 2-0. The next one is November 6th, and it's going to be intriguing to see. Hopefully we see a little bit of Sebastian Giovinco getting around, and hopefully Clint Irwin keeping her locked in net. And hopefully we'll be going down to the MLS Cup Finals down the road, and then we can all cheer and bask in the glory of Toronto FC. Now moving over to hashtag We the North. Toronto Raptors. 1-1 so far. They've only played 2 games, but, 50-50. The main topic that I want to talk about is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're already 3-0. Do we just give it to them?
No, we still got a season to play out. I mean, if you're talking about giving them the trophy, I thought we would have done that with the Golden State Warriors last year, and how did that play out? By the way, Golden State losing that first game to San Antonio, what a show. But, for Cleveland, they're off to a fantastic start, but, it's going to be a long season, and that Raptors game was pretty close up until the end. So, the Raptors are going to have a time when they beat Cleveland. Probably won't be in the playoffs, but, Cleveland's going to have their bumps in the roads this season. They did last year, even though it ended in a championship. Of course, they fired the coach, brought in a new guy in January, Tyronn Lue, and where did that lead them? It led them to the NBA championship. So they're going to hit their bump in the road. It's just a matter of when.
And, of course, in the Western Conference, San Antonio is 4-0, and the Oklahoma City Thunder is 3-0, while the Clippers are 2-0. So the point being is I feel like we're going to have another season of those powerhouse teams where everybody else is going to get kind of beat by those same guys over and over and over again. Hopefully we see a couple of different teams make the playoffs. That would be a nice change.
Well, the interesting
But
thing, too,
again,
though, with
we shall
OKC
see.
as well is that, I mean, they're off to a great start, but, like, will they be able to keep it up without Kevin Durant? And, I mean, yeah, you mentioned San Antonio 4-0. They have that win over Golden State under their belt, so that makes them look really good. Golden State's obviously going to rise to the top because the cream always does, and the cream of that Western Conference is the Golden State Warriors. San Antonio, though, I mean, they're always that dark horse. Not really a dark horse, but when we get to the playoffs, they are sort of like never the ultimate favorite, but they always give somebody trouble and sometimes even beat them.
That's it for this edition of BSS Sports. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at BSS Sports. Archiving everything on YouTube at BSS Productions. For Trevor Struthers and myself, Steven Schill, we'll catch you